Okay, thanks Christina, and thanks for the introduction, and thanks to the RIU for the invitation to present here at the Resources Roundup. So for those of you who don't know Falcon Metals, we listed in December 2021, and that was via a demerger of a company you may have heard of called Chalice Mining. So back in 2020, Chalice made a pretty amazing discovery at Julimar, but prior to that discovery, their flagship asset was the Pyramid Hill gold project in Victoria, which is a pretty substantial asset on its own. But given how much work they had to do at Julimar, which is a world-class discovery, they made the pretty sensible decision to spin out Pyramid Hill, put in a Victorian-based management team, and we raised 30 million on the ASX, which is where all our money came from, and in December 2021, and away we went. And before I continue, that picture on the screen there, that gold is from gold we panned from a drill hole we drilled at our Ironbark East prospect at Pyramid Hill, and we announced that last year. And that's just an indication of what you have in Victoria, which is high-grade gold like this is, which is what we're all chasing. Okay, there's a standard industry disclaimer, so please read that at your leisure. Okay, so Falcon Metals, our flagship asset is the Pyramid Hill Gold Project. It's a very large strategic ground position in Victoria, in the Bendigo zone, one of the most prolific gold belts in the world. We're doing, as Christina said, we're doing a very large drill out. We've done more than 60,000 metres of air core drilling this season, which is as big as anyone's ever done that I'm aware of. So it's a very major exploration program. And thankfully, we've been getting good results, which I'll go through in a minute, especially at our Ironbark East prospect. But we've also discovered 2 new trends, which we're also chasing. So that'll form the basis of my talk today. We do have 2 assets in Western Australia. I won't go through those today in the interest of time. There's a couple of slides in the appendix at the back if you're interested. And please do make the trek down to the coffee deck at the back of the auditorium if you want to go through those or anything else to do with Falcon. So a quick corporate snapshot. So our largest shareholder is Tim Goyder, who you may have heard of. So he's obviously the largest shareholder of Chalice, so inherited a big position in the IPO, but also put some money in as well. And we have two corporates that are substantial. We have Franklin Templeton, which is a very substantial fund out of the US, and also the Goldman Sachs Group. Our share price was last trading in the mid-30s. I think it was around 33 to 35 cents sort of range. Gives us a market cap of about 60 million. But importantly, we do still have over 20 million of cash left at the end of March. And that's a decent treasury position for a junior explorer. And I think the reason is you really do need that to do exploration properly, especially where we're looking undercover in Victoria. You do need a decent cash balance to be able to do that properly. You can't just do it in dribs and drabs. So that's why we're able to do such a large drilling program and really focus in on vectoring in on that high-grade gold. So the board of management, a few of these people you might know from other companies. There's Mark Bennett, who's our chairman. Mark's a bit of a legend in the exploration game. He's made several major discoveries, culminating in the Nova Bollinger base metal project when he was at Sirius Resources. That got taken over by IGO for just short of $2 billion, which is it was a pretty amazing discovery at the time. So Mark's got a tremendous track record. He now lives in Melbourne, so it's great to have someone of Mark's experience and success and track record available. And it's great to have Mark drop in the office and share his views on what we're doing. So he's a great chairman. We also have Alex Dorsch on the board. You probably know him from Chalice. He was MD of Chalice when they discovered Julimar. But importantly for us, he was the guy at Chalice that originally pegged the Pyramid Hill Gold Project. So he's got a lot of passion for Pyramid Hill. He was the guy that started it inside Chalice, and he obviously elected to stay with it and devote some of his time to this. So it's great to have Alex's involvement in Falcon going forward. Rounding out the executive team with myself, we have Pradeep, a very experienced company CFO, ex-PwC. We also have Doug Windsor, our exploration manager. He's at the booth at the moment. He's a Bendigo-born and bred geologist, which is obviously good for us. He worked all around the world with BHP and De Beers, spent the last nearly 10 years with IGO looking for gold and base metals in the north of Western Australia and the Northern Territory. But he's come back to Bendigo with us for the IPO, and he's really driven to find the next major discovery in Victoria. So it's great to have an exploration manager with that experience in Bendigo and also a world view as well. And he lives a few kilometres from the project, which is pretty handy. Got big thumbs to use this thing. So this is Pyramid Hill. This is what a day of exploration looks like at Pyramid Hill. So we're basically drilling on wheat paddocks, which is actually pretty convenient. We don't have to cut down any trees. We can pretty much drill wherever we want. It's very important to have good land access and good relationships with farmers. you have to be a part of the community where we operate, and we do have land access for everywhere we need to drill, which is tremendous. These are broadacre farms, so very commercial farmers. They understand it, and we do have very broad access agreements, which makes life quite straightforward for us. We're also operating under low impact exploration, so we can't do anything to the ground other than the drill hole itself. No sumps, no holes, we can't leave sample there, no water, no drilling mud, nothing. So we've got to operate very cleanly and keep everything contained. And as long as we do that, and you know, the farmers are very happy with having us there, so it's great. So the opportunity with Falcon. So this is a map of the Bendigo zone in Victoria. So this is one of the world's most prolific gold fields. And the important feature of that is, well, there's two features. One is our dark blue, the dark blue areas are our permits. So you can see we dominate the Bendigo zone in our ground position. It's a very large ground position, more than 5,000 square kilometres. And also that red dashed line, that's the boundary between the outcropping Castleman Group sediments that host Bendigo, 22 million ounces, Fosterville, nearly 9 million ounces, and I'll just touch on Fosterville in a minute. So a lot of gold's been mined below that red dashed line, 60 million ounces, but above it, virtually nothing. And that's because there's some Murray Basin sediment that covers the same rocks that host Bendigo and Fosterville. So that's the opportunity with Falcon, is to get a large enough ground position to be able to systematically explore this ground with air core drilling and try and find the next major discovery. So we're looking for the next Bendigo or Fosterville. We're not looking for a small deposit. We're looking for a major system, and you do need a large ground position to do that. So that's what our story is. I mean, the Victorian government's own study, that they think that there's estimated there's 32 million ounces of undiscovered gold north of that red dashed line in the Bendigo zone. So there's a very big prize there indeed. We have the biggest ground position there, so that gives us the best chance to do it. Plus, we're the ones really actively exploring there at the moment. And, you know, our projects cover literally hundreds of strike kilometres of prospective structures under that cover. So just on Fosterville, this is you know, really interesting what's happened with Fosterville, and it is talked about a bit, but just to remind everyone. So there's a long section there through the Fosterville gold deposit. That yellow zone there is the Swan zone, which is where they hit the jackpot. And this graph just shows the reserve growth over time as well as the production over time. No, from 2012, it was sort of a mediocre gold mine, but you can see the grade was just sort of creeping up as the mine got a bit deeper. A company called Kirkland bought it in 2016 and then really hit the jackpot. They drilled deeper in the mine, hit that Swan zone, and suddenly their reserve went up to 2.7 million ounces at 31 grams. So for a little while, it was the highest grade, most profitable gold mine anywhere in the world, which is quite extraordinary. And if you're mining 600,000 ounces a year at under $200 an ounce cash cost, you're making an awful lot of money. So this led to a land rush in Victoria. We got in early, so our ground was picked up in what we think are the best positions because we acted so early, and that's why we've ended up with the ground that we have. But it's a real reminder of what the prize is in Victoria, because people seem to have forgotten there are very high-grade, very substantial ore bodies still to be found in our part of the world. So our projects, so the one that's been we're doing the most work on and we've been putting out the good results on recently is our Ironbark prospect. This was an interesting one because it's not quite like Bendigo or Fosterville because it's hosted in diorites. So there you can see there's some magnetic highs there. They showed up in the low-res regional data. This is some high-resolution data we did recently. But there were some magnetic highs there, so we did some soil sampling across it, got a bit of a gold sniff, went back in with some air core rigs, got primary mineralisation with the air core drilling. But importantly, it was hosted in diorites, not sediment, which is what you normally get in this part of the world. Now that's actually quite a good thing because there's some very large, very high-grade deposits in Victoria that are hosted in diorites, and the ones we like to talk about are in the Wowhalla Woods Point goldfields, and there's a deposit that was mined a long time ago now called Cohen's Reef, and that was 1.5 million ounces at 32 grams hosted in diorites, which is pretty extraordinary. So we were actually quite excited when we realised we had mineralised diorites on our hand. So we've now discovered 5 of these diorites, and the one I'd like to just focus in on is the Ironbark East diorite, which is over here where all that drilling is. So in February, we announced some infill air core results. So we got 12 metres at over 6 grams, including 4 metres at nearly 18, with one at over 52, 7 metres at nearly 3, including one at 14, and 3 at 5, including 2 at 8. So they're pretty good air core results, some very high grades in there indeed. But what the important things are, there's two points. One is we now have a high-grade trend that goes northwest-southeast for over 500 metres. So that's what you want when you're doing air core drilling. You want to define a trend that you can drill with a diamond rig. But also this was primary mineralisation in quartz veins. This wasn't weathered material. This is primary mineralisation. So that gave us a lot of encouragement to send in the diamond rig, which is what we did. So in February, we sent in a diamond rig. And we did 5 diamond holes all around that diorite, and you can see those red triangles there are the diamond holes we did. We're waiting on results for those. We probably get those later this month, so we're quite excited about what we might see in those diamond results. We've got our fingers crossed that the assay gods smile upon us. And we also did a few, we did 1 diamond hole out here. So that hole there is a new diorite that we discovered in our air core drilling. So we didn't know that was there. It didn't show up in the magnetics, but it's definitely diorite. It had mineralisation in it, so we drilled a diamond hole there as well. So we'll probably get the results for that hole a little bit later, sometime in June. So that's something to look out for, is our diamond drill results, hopefully later this month. So very interesting prospect indeed. We also have 2 more traditional Bendigo style trends that we've discovered. So we announced these ones just at the end of April. So this is our Wandoo target. Now Wandoo is interesting because it's so close to Bendigo. This is only 20 kilometres due west of Bendigo, and it's quite extraordinary that with the work that we're doing with this air core program that we're doing, we're able to discover new anomalies so close to one of the world's great gold mines at Bendigo. So we did some drilling here in 2021, very, very wide space, first pass drilling, and we benchmarked that against all the other places where we'd done similar drilling, and Wandoo was the one that really stood out. So we went and did some infill drilling here at the start of this year. We did it on 140 by 800 metre spacing, very wide spaced air core still. Unfortunately, we got some very nice results, and including some quite coherent trends. And this one on the eastern side here, which is more than 1 kilometre long, and importantly, it had quite a good result of 6 metres at nearly 2 grams, including 2 at 3.6, and that last intercept of that 2 metres ended in mineralisation, so open at depth, because obviously the air core can only drill until it gets into the hard rock. Now that's quite a good result for that level of drill spacing. So we've gone back in here and drilled it straight away. We've done a whole lot more infill drilling, as you can see there. So all those blue dots are our infill drill holes. We've only just done them, so we're waiting on results. And I suspect we'll get those results sometime in June. So again, that's something to look out for, because we think they're quite good results for that level of drill spacing in the Elephant Country, very close to Bendigo. And a similar story with Banksia. This is a little bit further to the north of Wandoo, but still quite close to Bendigo. So we've got 2 trends here, one of which is nearly 3.5 or over 3.5 kilometres long. And that's quite important, because you do need a big footprint to find a Bendigo or a Fosterville. You need that 3 or 4 kilometre long zone, like the Fosterville footprint is about 4 kilometres, for example. So that's what you're looking for. So these are still very wide space drill programs. We quite liked what we saw at Banksia. 20 metres at 0.44 is very good for this wide space drilling. So we've gone back in and we've done our infill already, like Wandoo. We can act quite quickly. So we've drilled quite a lot of infill in and around those good results. And again, like Wandoo, we'll probably get those air core results in June. So there's plenty of news still to come for Falcon with all this infill drilling that we're doing. So just stepping back to the bigger picture, you can see this is all our tenement ground. There's Ironbark, there's Banksia, there's Wandoo. Those blue dots are the drill holes where we're still waiting for results. So we'll have the diamond results coming for Ironbark and the air core infill for Banksia and Wandoo. But we do have a big ground position, and we do have to keep looking for the next prospect. We want to keep generating new targets. So you can see up here in the north, we've done both first pass exploration and a little bit of infill, because there was a line drilled there. So we're doing constantly doing drilling, following along these major structures that go north from that Bendigo and Fosterville cluster. So those results will probably be out in June as well. We're going to keep that regional drilling happening. We're doing that right now. We have 2 rigs drilling over here at Rochester, so we still have 2 rigs active, which is quite fortunate, because it can get quite wet this time of year. So we're drilling on roadsides because the paddocks are under crop. So but we're still able to keep the rigs turning, which is quite important. So we'll be looking for Calcimone Group stratigraphy hosted prospects, which are where there's shallow soil, shallow cover, we'll do soil sampling, and where there's deeper cover, we'll do air core drilling, and that'll be sort of up to about 120 metres depth of cover, because that's where you can feasibly get to with an air core rig in a sensible way. We'll also obviously keep looking for diorite hosted targets. Diorites are great because they show up in the magnetics. So we did a drone survey of magnetics late last year. That has generated some new targets that could be diorites. So we'll be following up those with the air core rig as well. So we're going to keep that air core rigging turning, and I think hopefully we can keep drilling those with that air core rig until June, and then we'll take a bit of a break. So this is our timeline. So it really just reinforces what I've said. A very active drill program at the moment. More than 60,000 metres so far, including some diamond. Then there'll be a bit of a break from June. We'll still have assays coming in probably till at least July, and then we'll get the rigs turning later in the year, hopefully following up on some, fingers crossed, some good results. We'll do a bit of work in Western Australia. We've got a soil sampling program at Mount Jackson starting probably from next week. But the important thing with Falcon is we are fully funded, so if we do get good results, we can step up our activity straight away and send in more rigs, which is what we've been doing. So it is good to have that flexibility without having to go back to the market. So just finishing, look, we've got a great team. We've got a history of company making discoveries. We've got a very large strategic ground holding in Bendigo, more than 5,000 square kilometres, and a major drilling program that is still going on with results still coming through. And fortunately, some of them have been pretty nice, like those Ironbark results from February. We also have some work done in WA. So, and with our cash balance, I think that makes us a pretty good bet with exploration. So thanks very much.